Sorry, I didn't realize the mic was off. All right, guys. So good evening and welcome to another mentorship session. Today we're not having a mentorship session or discussing any PYQs. So today we have Naina. Uh, so if you have seen the GMCH results, three people tied for the top rank. So two of them were from our community. Not that we take responsibility for them clearing it. Of course, they are part of a community, so we'll congratulate them. So congratulations, Jugal and Naina. We don't know about the third person though, so congratulations to her too. So we have Naina here who has agreed to give us an interview, right? So she's gonna tell us everything that she has done so far and about the journey that she has come through to get to the top, right? And of course, she did all of these by herself without relying on any particular coaching institute or those high costly the resources that other coaching institutes sell and advertise online, right? So yeah, so we have Naina, so the stage is yours, and let's start off with your introduction. So could you please just briefly introduce yourself? For example, you could tell
Hi.
us, yeah, go on please, your background, your
Mhm.
interests. So anything you want to tell us about yourself. Go on.
Right. So hi everyone. Firstly, Roderick, thank you for um, inviting me here, and I'm honestly very nervous because I haven't really given an interview of this type before. But I am Naina Jain. I did my master's in clinical psychology from Christ University this year. I graduated this year. Um, and I did my bachelor's honors in psychology from Christ as well, both from different campuses. And my interests, well, of course, psychology, clinical psychology to be specific. I also really like neuropsychology and phenomenology. These are the three interests when it comes to psychology. And if you ask me about my hobbies, I like reading. I have been a huge reader ever since childhood. I mostly read fiction. I don't really like non-fiction. I like historical, mythological fiction. I watch a lot of anime. I like learning languages. And one of my passions is also teaching. I really like it. I think I have the talent for teaching, and I would definitely like to go into academia at some point in my journey. That is one of my goals.
Wow, so it's so awesome. Like you are also into neuropsychology, anime, and things. I think a lot of our crowd will relate.
Yeah.
That's nice. So yeah, you said your hobbies are these, but you said mostly it's reading. So what is it that you do when you're not preparing for exam in terms of winding down, relaxing, things like that?
Um, yeah, so I read, of course. I read a lot. I have a lot of fiction that I read. I generally avoid watching any series because then it just goes on and on and on, one episode after the other, and then I lose track of time. So I avoid watching series when I'm not preparing for exams. But if it is my day off, when I've decided that today I won't do anything related to studying, then I might watch some anime. Um, and I I like Indian mythology. Like reading about it. There's this book that I've recently started reading called Mahagatha, 100 Tales from Purans. So I read that, and reading that, I think what I want to. So I've taken inspiration from that book, and what I want to do in the future is maybe read more on Indian psychology and try to integrate Indian and Western psychology. So this is another goal that I have in mind for myself. Then I am also a horrible multitasker. I cannot multitask, so I also don't try anything new when I'm not preparing for an exam. I have a lot of, again, I have a lot of goals in my mind. I want to maybe someday start my own practice as a maybe counseling psychologist, but I haven't really. done anything for that because I don't want to start anything new when I'm focusing on MPhil because I know that I can't multitask.
Sure,
And
sure.
I think yeah, that's it. It's very important to take breaks. So when I'm not preparing, I spend time with my family because I believe social support and love and care. I think that's very important. These are things that personally ground me. They bring me back to reality, and I when I spend time with my family, I realize that exams are not the entire journey, they're just the gate between you and your destination. So when I'm taking breaks, I try not to focus on anything related to psychology.
Sure, true, true. So having a support system is very crucial.
Yeah.
And also, like you said, so it's just a gate. So learning is definitely throughout your life, right? So that's very true. So we'll get into what a lot of people really, really want to ask you. So we have our own set of questions, guys. So after we're done with those, so we'll definitely use your questions if they have not been covered. All right. Fine. So when you talk about your mindset and motivation, could you tell us what made you choose prep solo without any coaching? Was it like a conscious choice that no, I'm not going to go with the mainstream coaching and things like that? Or was it something practical, maybe some other ideas that you had in your mind?
I think it was more of a practical decision. I think coaching would have helped for sure because I won't deny coaching doesn't help at all. It provides a lot of structure, and but I think it's like you should do what suits you better. I think coaching is really great for people who do really well with a lot of structure in their lives when they have a specific set of classes to attend. They have proper material that they have to revise and they have tests towards the end. I think those people who thrive in that, they'll really like coaching. But for me, it just isn't meant for me. I do not do well with this much structure when it comes to studies. For example, there was this WhatsApp group that I was a part of, which I think this one individual, she used to conduct Google Meet sessions on, having daily discussions on certain topics. But even though it was free, I found myself not attending those at all because I just cannot do really well with classes and proper sessions. So it's just not my style. So I think I would say do what suits you best. Be mindful of how much money you're paying for these classes. Look for different alternatives, is what I would suggest.
Okay, so you answered most of the questions also, what I was about to ask next. So I'll try to ask what's left out. Did you ever feel the pressure because you may see all your peers joining coaching, maybe at least some groups, and then preparing some sort of a mentor would have been there. So
Mhm.
how did you navigate that pressure and stick to your own way of preparing?
Right. I there was pressure, of course. A lot of my friends were taking coaching classes, but my decision was mostly financial. It was initially financial. The money is just way too much for coaching classes. I'd rather spend that money on some course that might help me upskill myself. And secondly, it's just not my style. My learning style is more self-directed. I think to myself, I am alone in this journey. Only I will get the seat. My coaching institute
Mhm.
won't get the seat, or my friends won't get the seat. I will get the seat. So I have to be alone in this journey. I have to do it myself. And I've always done what's always suited me best. And it's not like I have a shortage of time. I have to get a seat by this particular time. I need a coaching class for that. It's not like that. I have a lot of time. I can give exams next year as well. It is fine. I just kept telling myself that it's fine if I don't get into an MPhil seat myself, but what I have done for myself alone will definitely just add to my knowledge base. First of all, it will give me more experience. It will get me uh, just better conceptual clarity and a lot of topics. So that's how I dealt with the pressure of joining institutes. I would also like to clarify, I did initially, there was this set of mock MCQs, mock papers that I
Mm.
did buy because, again, I had read a lot of good reviews about them. So I did spend some money on that, but I ended up not really using them because the quality was just okayish. So even if you're spending money, even if it's a little amount, I mean, you just have to be very cautious about where you're spending your money, because not everything that has an amount attached to it is good.
Sure, sure. That's very true. Like the amount of money doesn't match always the output, right? Good.
Yeah.
And you really laid it out there, like about how you didn't take the pressure, right?
Mm.
So you particularly said, so this is not a deadline, so I can do it later also. But a lot of people get into the trap. I should clear this entrance by this month or within this year. I understand there's this pressure because MPhil is changing and all that. So I
Mm.
think in ACT terms, we call it creative control, which leads you to, have a lot of struggle within yourself. So that's a good way you dealt with it. So what would be your advice to people who are trying to, crack it now because MPhil is changing? Would there be
Mhm.
any advice you would give to people that I need the MPhil, so I am going to do it this year? So who are taking that pressure? Anything you tell them?
Mm. I think at the end of the day, whether it's an MPhil or it's an MA, all you're getting at the end of the day is that RCI registration. That is all that matters. So I don't really think there would be a lot of difference between an MPhil and an MA. Um, it's okay if you it's okay. It's okay if you don't get a seat this year. You can try again next year. That 1 year of preparation would just give you a better chance of getting into whatever institute that you want, whatever institute is best. And just remember the light at the end of the tunnel, which is that RCI registration and that practical training, that practical exposure that would make you a good clinical psychologist. It does not matter which degree you're doing. You have to put effort by yourself. You have to deal with all of the clients yourself. You have to take the initiative to learn and gain all the experience that you want by yourself. Nobody is going to hold your hand, so it's all you. Even if it's an MA, if you don't put in that effort, you won't get anywhere. Even if it's an MPhil, if you don't put the effort, you won't get anywhere. So it does not matter if it's an MPhil or an MA. It's okay to just keep trying and not lose hope. That's I think that's my advice.
True, true. So it's about that valued goal which matters instead of the path you take.
Yeah.
So
I mean that after like 5 to 10 years, nobody's going to ask you if you did an MPhil or an MA, if you which year did you do it in. All they're going to ask is how good of a clinical psychologist you are. I think that's what people need to focus on.
sure. I mean, even if they do ask, it's like what matters to you,
Yeah.
right? So you went through the training, rigorous training, and you're a clinical psychologist. And good that you didn't say RCA license, you said RCA registration. So definitely felt
Yeah.
appreciated for that. So,
Yeah, I've made sure not to mention license.
but all right. So what do you do during your low motivation phases? Is there any rituals you do, any mantras or binge on memes? What do you do?
I take breaks. That's all I do because they say that motivation is not important. Discipline is. So keep yourself going, even if you're not motivated. Get up from your bed every day. Discipline is important, but I believe in never forcing myself to study because eventually it will just lead to burnout. That's what I believe in personally. So if there were phases where I felt very low, or I didn't find myself very motivated to get up, I took a break that day. I knew that I would have time. One day of studying does not matter. I can compensate for it the next day or the next day or the next week. It does not matter. Um, so I took breaks. They are important. I needed time to energize myself. And if by getting this energy I can focus better the next day, I would prefer that. Then again, I would read books, and just do things that are important to me, or do things that I find joy in. And just get one thing I also did was organize my space. So whenever I felt like not doing anything, I would get up and organize my laptop, maybe arrange files and folders, or organize my physical space, clean things up. And I believe cleaning and organizing just brings more clarity to my mind, and it just unclutters my mind. So that really helped me. And what else? I also tracked my time. I think that has really helped me. I used certain apps to uh, track how much time I was spending in studying every day, and I used that as competition. So I competed with myself on how much time I'm spending in studying, and I felt motivated to increase that time every single day, even if just by minutes, just a few minutes. So I think these things really helped me get out of those low motivation phases.
Okay. So by tracking time, you mean you'll have a stop clock?
Yeah, a stop clock, or if you're more into aesthetics, there are a lot of websites or apps that have all of those time trackers, and then at the end of it they have those monthly charts and graphs, and then you can look at them and reflect back and just just feel good about how much time you've spent studying.
Yeah, it's really good that you take a lot of breaks in between because there's a vast syllabus to cover and it's a marathon. And if you sprint so hard, it's going to be burnout only, right? So
Right.
it's good that you emphasize that. So now moving on to the strategies that you have adopted. So how did you structure your strategy across theory? I have to do PYQs and maybe some application-based questions. So how did you structure that?
The first thing I did was going through the paper for which could you give me one moment? I
Sure.
think
Oh, yeah.
there's
Go on.
somebody at the door. I'll come back in just
Sure,
one
sure,
minute.
sure. Sure. Okay. Okay, so we'll just wait for Naina to come back. In the meantime, so do send me messages, or you can use a chat also to say what are questions that you want to ask. Of course, we do have a set of questions. After she returns back, we'll see what questions are covered, and if there's anything that she has not covered, and you have asked that, we'll definitely ask her. Okay, so we'll wait for her to come back.
Right, sorry, it was my mom at
Yeah,
first.
no
I had
problem.
to open it. Yeah, okay. Um, my prep
What we
strategy,
do?
right?
Yeah.
Right. So first thing that I would do was going through the past paper of whichever institute I was preparing for, and trying to understand the type of questions and the syllabus that they ask from. Like NFSU is mostly research focused, and the GMCH past paper was more applied in nature. So I went through the paper first, attempted it, noted my score, so that I know where I'm standing right now. Then now, there were two things. If I had more time, if I knew I had like a month or so, I would read textbooks, standard master's and bachelor's textbooks. And I only read textbooks that I had referred to during my master's and bachelor's because I was familiar with them. So it was easier to go through those books and just do whatever is available to you. That's what I would say. I would take just one book from each subject, and because the content is the same no matter which author's textbook you pick up, the content is the same. So just take one textbook and go through it, go through all of the topics that you found in the past papers, and whichever topics that you find are important. Then if I knew that I had lesser time, then what I would do was solve papers, and then whichever answers I got wrong, I would read up more on them and maybe write them somewhere so that I can look at them again and again and then revise. That's how I went through my prep. So if I had more time, I would read books. If I had lesser time, I would do papers first and then revise all of the answers that I had gotten wrong. Yeah.
Got it. So you said PYQs, and then you would get information of where you're kind of lacking, and then you
Hmm.
would read through it. So if you do have
Yeah.
time, you read more of it, right?
Yeah.
So you said like syllabus, like most institutions do not give syllabus, and PYQs again, not all institutes upload them. So how do you
Hmm.
manage that?
I refer to my master's syllabus because all I mean all MPhil institutes, they do mention the master's syllabus uh,
Mm-mm.
as the standard syllabus. So I refer to my master syllabus, which was Christ, and it was quite comprehensive. So I believe the Christ master syllabus is really really good, and I just refer to that. All of the yeah, just whatever textbook I used at that time. Yeah, pretty much that.
I would actually have to agree with that because even for my prep, I didn't have any syllabus. I used various syllabus. So one of the main things was Christ, and then I of course used UGC Net syllabus.
Right.
And also Manipal had given their own syllabus for MPhil particularly.
Mhm.
So it was a combination, but Christ University was very comprehensive. So even we have in Nimhan, a lot of people, it's like a copy paste from Christ. People who kind of are good and Christ University, they end up coming to Nimhans. Most of
Right.
them are. Right? It's
Hmm.
like a mini Christ University in Nimhans. So,
That's true.
yeah. So second one, within this prep strategy thing, what are your go-to resources? So you already said your syllabus, your textbook,
Hmm.
and PYQs you get from some places. And is there any other resources that you had used apart from what you had mentioned? You said you had mentioned the
Uh,
MCQ thing.
yeah, I did purchase those initially because I had heard good reviews. But then when went through those papers, they weren't really good. There were a lot of mistakes in them, and so I decided not to use them anymore. Um, my again go-to resources were my textbooks, and I am in a lot of WhatsApp groups, so try to find good WhatsApp groups where people discuss a lot of questions that they come across, and so you can find a lot of past year questions or just mock questions there, and I used to solve those whenever I could find them. But like try not getting into a lot of WhatsApp groups because sometimes it can just get very overwhelming. Uh, but yeah, WhatsApp groups, they are really really good platforms, and I think people should take advantage of these groups.
Yeah, so even we have one. So not any conflict of interest. You can name WhatsApp groups or any institutions you got your MCQs from. So that like people would know. So
Mhm.
what are the other WhatsApp groups that you are a part of where you get resources? So
There
one is
is
ours. So yeah, go on, go
hmm,
on.
right. There is this group called MPhil, and I think it's really really good. There are a lot of people who've been giving MPhil entrance examinations for quite a lot of years, so they have a lot of experience in how these papers go and what sort of questions are asked. Then the MCQ set that I bought was from PsychoHub.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought them from PsychoHub because I had heard a lot of good reviews. They used to post, of course, I mean, the reviews they used to post on their own Instagram channel,
Mhm.
so they would be good reviews. Yeah, pretty
Other
much.
WhatsApp groups?
I would have to check my WhatsApp for that. One is the MPhil motivation. There are a few Telegram channels. I think there's one channel called again MPhil Clinical Psychology. Then PsychoHub sometimes puts up MCQs on their WhatsApp groups. There is one called Synapse Circle. It's for UGC Net, but the the woman who runs this WhatsApp group, she puts daily MCQs pertaining to net, but they're really good. And we have about 400, 500 MCQs so far for general psychology. There are 130 MCQs for research specifically. So this group is really good. Synapse Circle. Then there is Psych Scholars Hub. I think I don't know if it's for MPhil or if it's for psychology or clinical psychology in general. But yeah, these are some of the groups that I am in.
Sure,
Huh.
sure. All right. So we'll of course mention our thing also. So we have psychology
Right.
entrance prep with me,
Hmm.
Roderick, and so that is the same name you'll find on Telegram also. So you can subscribe there. So we do put MCQs and sometimes we do discuss why the answers are the simple. So yeah, links may not be possible, but we'll just put these names up in the group so that you can also go to the interview to search it again, right? All right, good. So moving on, any unconventional methods you use? For example, note to self, like do you record your own voice, or do you try to make flashcards, or maybe use memes and notes, connect them together? Any methods that you think are unconventional and uniquely yours?
Um, Not really, because I'm a pretty conventional, traditional learner. I don't use any unconventional methods as such. What I do is I use a lot of sticky notes, and if there's some topic that I find very hard to remember, then I write it on a sticky note and put it up on my study table. So if you look at my table, it is full of yellow sticky notes everywhere. So I can just look at them and then revise or remember these things better, but nothing unconventional as such, because I mean, all of these entrance exams, they are very traditional, and I don't think I feel like these exams don't really test a lot of critical thinking, and I
Mhm.
and only traditional, only unconventional methods help with critical thinking. But since they don't ask that, I don't use any unconventional methods. I do use spider diagrams and flashcards, not flashcards, flowcharts. Yeah, I make a lot of flowcharts, a lot of spider diagrams to link concepts better. I use a lot of mnemonics, but these are pretty standard practices.
Sure. So sticky notes are pretty unstandard for me because I don't have the time or energy to do that.
Mhm.
But I did make my own PPTs and things like that. So that's how I remember. Kind of a flashcard for myself. So
Right,
that helped me. So yeah. So different people like me use different methods. So,
right.
all right. So in terms of all the papers that you've done, like we'll start with GMCH. So the paper was pretty easy. Of course, we saw the ceiling effect. So how
Yeah.
did you approach this year's paper? So how tough was it? Was there any questions that were like very tricky for you? How did it, how was it?
It was really very easy. It was ridiculously easy. I'll be very, very
Mhm.
honest. It was just ridiculous. When I looked at the paper, I was honestly very surprised because there was only one past paper available, and so I had to rely on that to understand the pattern. And it was, I would say, it was applied in a sense. So I was aiming for that difficulty. But then I looked at this paper, and the questions were just so, they were so straightforward. I mean, they had asked which, for example, which therapy approach uses miracle questioning, and that's obviously solution focused, right?
Focused.
So this was the level of difficulty in the GMCH paper. So I was surprised. I breezed through the paper, did very quickly. I first marked on the question paper. It took me like 20 minutes max to mark all the answers on the question paper, and then I spent the rest of the time doing the filling the OMR sheet. um, so very straightforward. But then I think the past paper, it was good. I liked the paper. There were a few questions that made me think a lot. um, for example, there was this one question on a split brain patient who was made
Mhm.
to read the word Punjab, and then if he was split brain, what would he say out loud? So the answer was job, because it was on the right side.
Right side.
And yeah, that's
Left
because
brain,
it's a left brain, of
left brain
course.
speaks. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes so that question made me think a little. But no such question, I think, came in this year's paper. Maybe the that cognitive distortion question on with selective abstraction. Yeah, I spent like 15 minutes on that question because I was very, very confused. That one ambiguous word that made me think, and then I got it wrong, but I believed the answer should be catastrophizing. And so I challenged that, and then thankfully they accepted my answer. So that was relieving.
So that was about this year's paper. So I
Hmm.
understand this year's paper was kind of a letdown for a lot of people because they don't even have a negative marking, right?
Right.
Yeah. Right. So what about other papers? GMCH 23 definitely was way more application oriented. The example you
Hmm.
gave, even we did during our solving. So we did
Yeah.
find it a bit more trickier than what
Hmm.
was this year. So any other papers where you found more test for this conceptual clarity over just cramming and just knowledge based recall?
Um, hmm. I think so I've only given four papers. I had given NIMHANS and CIP and then NFSU and GMCH. CIP and NIMHANS, to be honest, I don't remember at all because that was a long time ago. So I don't remember what sort of questions came, but I do remember CIP was, I think it was easy. The questions were pretty straightforward in CIP. I once solved a paper from RML that I found very tough. It was things that I had some questions were on things that I'd never read about before. So I think one RML paper I found it tricky, but I think it was not very conceptual in nature. I think it was more memory based. If you know it, you know it. I mean, if you know the answer, then you solve it. If you don't know, then you don't know. So it was like that. But otherwise, I don't think I have found a lot of papers that made me really scratch my head and try to like actually solve option by option which answer it would be.
Right, right. So yeah, because most MPhil papers are kind of at level 1 or 2 in Bloom's taxonomy kind of knowledge
Hmm.
and
Right.
just understanding comprehension. They don't even test analysis or even
Hmm.
application much, which
True.
they should ideally, but they don't.
Yeah, they
I've
should.
not given RML, so I'm not sure how much I can relate to that. Fine. So what about so you talked about other papers and all that. So there may have been times where you may have dropped just below the cutoff and things like that. So that is one question in the chat also. So what was
Mhm.
your reaction when you kind of just fall a few marks below the cutoff? So how was your reaction? How do you bounce back?
Yeah, so one thing that I have learned to do, and I don't know if I should suggest this, but it is to hope but not expect. That is my personal thinking. I hope for the best, but I don't expect anything because if I don't expect, then I won't be disappointed. That's just my personal thing. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. You do whatever you do best. But if I found myself just below the cutoff, I would be definitely heartbroken. I would be disappointed, but I that would be very momentary. That would be very temporary. All you've got to do is to have resilience, to know that it's okay. This one institute is not just the only institute offering MPhil. There are other institutes as well, and uh, the clients are the same throughout. I mean, the level of exposure, I don't think it varies quite as much as maybe what we think. You'll get clients with different disorders everywhere in whichever institute you go to. So it does not really matter if I did not clear this entrance for any institute, or the institute that maybe I was hoping for. Of course, I was hoping for NIMHANS. That was my first option. But then um, I thought back on what I could have done better, and I took that as a learning moment. I reflected back on the paper, what questions I had done wrong, and I revised those so that the next time I sit for another paper, I just do better than before. Yeah.
So just to keep going, so instead of being
Yeah.
attached, right?
Yes,
True.
I mean,
So
yeah, some people, I've seen a lot of people being very attached to certain institutes, which makes sense. I mean, you have put in a lot of effort for these institutes and you dream of getting there and learning and doing just the best you can. But I think it's very important to sometimes accept that it is okay. It's okay. That's it. It's just okay. It's fine.
yeah, that was kind of what I told myself the first few times I didn't get into maths. But
Mm.
based on what you told, so it doesn't matter where you get into. So it's actually very true. So I may get a lot of flack by saying this. Even after completing NIMHANS, I feel like I was not satisfied with my exposure, not exposure, my journey there, because we were overloaded, everyone. So not just people who speaks Kannada, they are extremely overloaded. But everyone else, anyone who gets into NIMHANS will be overloaded with cases. So there's not much actual time for you to go back and read. That is where you read and then apply your knowledge. So even if you get into NIMHANS, even if you get into another institution, you're going to be overloaded with cases. So it
Right.
doesn't matter where you are. Of course, the instructors, the consultants, they do give you some guidances and it does help you. It is just too much. The course is loaded and you will not have time to read and structure your day and anything. In the end, it is just you're in zombie mode and you get by somehow. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter where you get in, you just have to read by yourself. That is what matters at the end of the day. And you practice what you read. So that is what institutions offer you. Doesn't matter where you get into. So that is from my side. So a lot of people would disagree and say, no, you cleared demands. You're saying that retrospectively, but yeah, this is what I believe. Anyway, so another thing. Okay, someone is asking, are you going to write Ibhas? They may be like kind of taking note of the competition. So yeah, are you going to write
Yeah,
Ibhas?
I am going to write a pass.
Good, fine. Right. Um, so some things on your cognitive psychology based applications in your prep. Was it like you wanted more? Did you try to use anything like, convert the ebooks into read out loud? Or did you stick to just visual methods? What sort of cognitive psychology hacks did you
Mhm.
use? You say mnemonics, one thing.
Right. Yeah, mnemonics, one thing. I'm more of a visual learner. So again, all of those, what do you call them? Those sticky notes on my table. That's what I mostly use. Um, I, yeah, I'm not really an auditory learner. I don't really do very well with listening or any such approach. I'm mostly a visual learner. I read textbooks. I highlight whatever I find is important, and if I think there's a new topic uh, that I'm coming across, and I need to remember it, I will write it down on a piece of paper. Things that I know already, I will just read from a textbook and then not really look back. So I don't need to write all of those topics, but things that are new or things that I find difficult to recall, I will write them and then refer to them later. Then I would solve past year papers first towards the start of the month, and then towards the end of the month after I've done my studying and when the exam is approaching, I will solve the paper once again and compare how much I've improved. So that gave me confidence, first of all. And secondly, if there's still some topics that I'm struggling with, maybe, then I will go back and revise them again. That's how I did. Again, yeah, flow charts, spider diagrams. It just helped me visualize things better and connect everything.
Got it. Okay. My camera died, so I'll not be able to turn on my camera. Anyway, uh, so yeah, so particularly for some things like, very just rote memory based. For example, dates, author names, or even diagnostic criteria, names of assessments. Is there any suggestions or advice you would give? Because applications, at least okay, this makes
Right.
sense and this follows logically. But for just these trivial things which you have to just memorize, names of tests and all that, diagnostic criteria too. Yeah.
Mhm. I think I would. What I did was write all of these things down first of all, because writing obviously helps in memorization. Writing does help, but then I would try to form a timeline. So uh, the Stanford Binet test came first in 1902 or 1905, something like that. And then all the making like a timeline, and then what happened next. The World War One came, and then the Alpha and Army Beta tests came in 1917, and so then what happened next, and then what happened next. So making like a timeline and then forming a story really helps a lot. That would be my only suggestion, because there's just no other way to remember trivial details like names and dates and stuff. You just have to remember that. If rote learning helps you, go for it. I mean, if it is something that is helping you, go for it. But I personally form a timeline or a story and connect everything together.
Okay, sure. That helps a lot. So, of course, for sequences and all, so it makes sense. So you may use mnemonics there and you'll remember
Hmm.
it. So that's probably easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like having doubts, so sometimes some concepts may be unclear. So did you have a peer group, or you were no, completely I'll do it myself? How did you
Um,
tackle
mhm.
that?
I was mostly solo when it came to studying, but I do have friends that I rely on. We used to solve past papers together, and we used to discuss our scores and which topics we did wrong. So that, I mean, it just helps to see where we are together. Us three, so we are three people, us three friends, and then if there's some topic that my friends are better at than me, then I'll ask them to explain it to me. Or if there's some topic that I am better at, then I will explain it to them. But when it came to actual studying, I was alone. But yeah, it's definitely better to have a study group of sorts, um, because you're there for each other, and you just don't feel alone in this journey.
Mhm.
There are people who, if your friends are there, they can relate to you, and you can relate to them, and you can discuss your struggles together, and you can help each other study all sorts of things. So having a friend group is really really nice, and I think you should discuss these things with your friends.
Sure, sure. So that definitely gives you that external structure. So some people may need that structure more. Like some people can do it by themselves more,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
that is how you manage your doubts and all that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do you think about these? I wouldn't name any institutes here. What do you
Mhm.
think about the institutes who conduct such doubt clearing sessions, ask people to pay for that, and then clear such doubts? So when you can kind of like do it in your community, so what do you think of those pay to ask sort of models?
I don't like those pay to ask models. I mean, if there's a community that's doing it for free, that's excellent. But I don't really like those pay to ask models, doubt solving sessions, because I mean, you have access to ChatGPT, you have access to Google,
Hmm.
you have access to textbooks. If you have access to all of those, why would you spend money on these doubt solving sessions? That is my question to people. And AI is really good, if you are cautious with it, if you are able to verify the information that AI is giving you, that is well and good. But AI is really a very, very good tool to have you understand things that are maybe you're finding tricky. So I used a lot of AI. I used ChatGPT quite a lot when I was trying to study internal consistency, Cronbach's alpha,
Hmm.
those sort of things, because I struggled with statistics. And so mostly how I did that was having ChatGPT explain every single thing to me as if I was a child. So
Okay.
I mean, if you have access to all of these things and they are free, why not take advantage of them?
Sure. So I remember a lot of memes from ChatGPT saying like, explain to me as if I had IQ score of 0.1, something
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, but you have to ask ChatGPT way more specific so that you
Yes.
get correct answers. Otherwise,
Right.
it's going to give you very superficial things. So yeah.
That's true.
And for someone who's prepping very solo today, like by themselves, what
Mhm.
are some things they should stop doing?
I think people should stop hoarding material. Uh, Spending money on buying tech books from like Amazon, all of those MPhil prep books. I mean, certain books I've heard are really good, but then buying books, I think that would
Mhm.
just overwhelm you at one point. So I think take one book. So I think there was this post on LinkedIn that I read from, I forgot the name of the person who made that post, but they said I read whichever book was available on my shelf. And so that is
Hmm.
really important. Do whatever you have, read whatever you have. Use just one textbook because the content is the same in all the textbooks. So don't keep on reading from multiple sources. Take one, but do it thoroughly so that you have that basic conceptual understanding of the topic. And but also don't just keep on reading textbooks endlessly. I mean,
Hmm.
MCQs and all of those things are really important. It's important to test yourself after the material. So just endlessly reading textbooks, highlighting, is that is also not enough. You have to test yourself on that material in order to strengthen your understanding of the topics. So just reading endlessly is also, I think, not really a good strategy.
So do you have a list of textbooks that you use? Of course, you said Christ University
Hmm,
textbooks. So
right.
is that what you stuck to?
Yes, I did stick to all those textbooks. So do you want me to give a list subject by subject?
No, the syllabus already lists them out, so I will share it with
Right.
them. So yeah,
Hmm,
that's definitely there.
hmm.
So what myths? So yeah, before we go into the next question, I would also like agree with what you said. So like, don't buy textbooks and hoard them because you will not have time to finish them in the first place.
Mhm. Right.
And like, if you buy one particular book that covers the entire syllabus, if you come across anything, please don't buy it because most likely they're gonna skip out a lot of things. It'll be superficial, so you're gonna end up buying several such books. Of course, the synopsis of psychiatry things, though, they are a different case because they summarize the entire psychiatry thing. So that you can buy for sure. But if you have like things like UGC net, one book for everything, so I don't believe it. That's my personal suggestion. I'm not sure how you would suggest. What is your take on this?
Yeah, I haven't bought any such textbook. I believe in reading from the source itself. I mean, these books also
Hmm.
refer to some source, right?
Sure.
These sources are obviously university textbooks, university level textbooks. And so if you have the source itself, I would
Hmm.
suggest reading that because that is where all of the other material comes from. So read the textbooks and you'll have everything that is there in those comprehensive books with all of the material, prep material.
Sure, sure. Okay, so that was another question. So we covered that. So just a second. Huh. So the next question, this is about the solo prep and versus the current scenario with coaching and things like that. So what myths about coaching or preparation do you want to kind of debunk?
Um, I think pretty much what I just said. I mean, these are people, I mean, coaching institutes also refer to the same books that you might refer to in your preparation. They would refer to the same Kaplan and Sadok. They would refer to the same Neeraj Ahuja, the same A.K. Singh to prepare their material. And they're reading from the same books as you are. So if you have the source itself, I would suggest reading from that. Um, they don't have access to special material that only they have and the general public does not
Mhm.
have. It's not like that. um yeah, I think pretty much that. I mean, coaching wouldn't give you something that you already cannot gain access to.
Sure. So of course you need a proper syllabus which you got from your institute, and then you just need, where do I find these information? So that pretty much covers everything, right?
Right.
So how do you think solo prep journey changes your mindset compared to someone who has done coaching prep?
I think doing it solo definitely makes you more independent in your thinking, and it
Hmm.
makes you more confident because when you're doing it solo, nobody's feeding you ready-made
Hmm.
information. You're searching for the information yourself. You're reading it yourself. You're trying to understand it yourself, and you're trying to make connections uh, with other things that you've read before. And you've researched things by yourself. You've doubted yourself, and then researched more to clear all those doubts. So you just become more confident in your thinking, and you become more independent in your thinking, because yeah, so you've done it all by yourself, and um, you had your own doubts, and you took the effort of clearing those doubts as well. So that this just this initiative itself of doing it by yourself, that that makes you pretty confident in your ability to uh, clearing those examinations, instead of having those coaching centers feed information to you and you're just watching those classes and taking down notes. I think that's how solo prep has helped me. But again, I would say, coach, if coaching works for people, then go for it. I mean, not that coaching is bad, just you just have to
Hmm.
find the right kind of coaching for you. um, Something that will not hurt your pocket, obviously. Something like yours. I mean, yours is very affordable. It's based on your own experience, how you've um, traversed through your journey, and
Hmm.
you're
Sure.
guiding people based on that. So something like yours would work really well, instead of having those famous coaching institutes with their material available everywhere. I mean,
Oh,
people
thank
do
you for that,
share them.
like,
Yeah.
shout out. So, guys, I didn't ask her to do this, but she did it on herself. So, yeah. And someone's asking, what books would you suggest for your MPhil prep? I mean, it's varied. So, if you have any go-to books, so you could tell the
Mhm.
crowd.
For psychopathology, I would suggest Neeraj Ahuja. A lot of people use Neeraj Ahuja. It's good. It has everything that you would find in actual MPhil papers. It had a lot of questions. I could, when I was solving papers, I could think of when I was reading Neeraj Ahuja, and I thought of the page that that sort of information was on. So Neeraj Ahuja for psychopathology is really good. Then for I think I used Schultz and Schultz. That was the
Hmm.
textbook that I had used during my master's. No, my bachelor's. Yeah. Then fish clinical psychopathology. I've heard, I haven't read it, but I've heard people using it, and people do suggest reading fish clinical psychopathology for MPhil. Then, even though AK Singh is good for research, read, I think I referred to Gravitors for research and statistics, because that's what I had used in my master's. Then I would have to look back. I don't particularly remember the names of all the books that I had read. If you want,
Sure.
maybe I can send a list in the group later with
Yeah, yeah,
the
you can
textbook
do that,
names.
like, for sure, sure.
Hmm.
Also, guys, like in the syllabus that we share on the website, so you'll find books for each unit. So we're still working on the mapping part, so that we will do so that like you know which topic from which book is the most ideal. So we'll put that up, so you can also take that as a suggestion. I would actually say go with it like a Bible, but it's up to you. So anyway, so we'll move on to the other question. Someone has asked, sometimes we come across concepts that are completely unheard of. So how do we even prepare for such questions?
Um, I think, hmm, I think just by solving past papers. I don't think there's any other way. I mean, but this is just based on my own experience. There are certain things that I've never ever heard of that come in MPhil papers. But I think just by solving past papers and any sort of MCQs that you can find anywhere, just keep on solving them, and you will run across those questions somewhere. That's
Sure.
all I have to say.
Yeah. So I would add on to this by saying first make sure it is not something that's part of the syllabus and you have not read it.
Yeah, that's
So then it may seem like a common question to others but unheard of to you. So
true.
first have a syllabus and read almost everything cover close to 100% of it. So that covers most of your questions. And of course, there would be some question which is, we call it no outside syllabus of sorts, but still relevant. So that we can only navigate by PYQs if they had occurred. So always there may be one or two questions that is completely unheard of, right? So you cannot have a foolproof plan for that. So that's something you have to go with the flow, right? So there are more questions. We'll try to wind this quickly.
Mhm.
So how much time or what period of time, months or even years, do you think is ideal for preparation? How much did you use?
Um, I think if you've studied really well during your masters, if your basic foundation is really strong, then uh, I think about 2 to 3 months would be ideal to crack even the toughest of papers, maybe from the top institutes like I think NIMHANS. But see, I don't really know because I haven't cleared NIMHANS, so I can't really say. But if your basics are very clear, then I think 2 to 3 months should be more than enough. But if you have to spend time reading through basic concepts first and forming like a conceptual understanding and then moving deeper into the topics, then I think 4 to 6 months should be, I think they would, 4 to 6 months would be
Hmm,
required.
sure. So I would also give a very similar timeline. So 6 months, I would say, for the most competitive exams like NIMHANS or even JRF, 6 months minimum. Otherwise, like for most other institutes where the competition is slightly doable, so you can get away with like 3 months, especially if you're, good with your basics. You have
Right.
gotten good marks in your bachelor's and master's, not marks to say quantify things, just to know that your breadth of information is like adequate. I would say 6 months is definitely ideal. So you said you used a study tracker, so also about how much time you spend.
Mhm.
Maintaining consistency, you said you did take a lot of breaks, so that is the cover. Any
Right. Yeah.
tips on repetition or retrieval cues, like mnemonics? Apart from that, anything else?
Um, I think just spaced repetition, active
Hmm,
recall, keep testing yourself. After everything that you read, keep testing yourself because the only way to remember things and really have a really good, uh, a very strong, uh, to form a very strong memory of things that you've read, keep testing yourself after a while. If you've read something, ask maybe ChatGPT to form questions on it and test yourself the day that you've read it at night, and then the next day, and then after 3 days, then a week, then 2 weeks, and things like that. So, spaced repetition and active recall, these are the two very, very good and evidence based techniques.
sure. So I would also like concur on this. So it's like retrieval, that is a better predictor of retrieval. So if you want to get better at something, do that. For example, if you want to get better at answering these MCQs, do MCQs. So it's not that it is helping you get better, it helps you recall like more. So there's something called desired difficulty. So the more that effort you put and then recall, the easier it becomes for subsequent recall. So that helps you literally like do what you are going to do later. So do a lot of testing. So it need not be just MCQs. It could be just you retrieve and then teach someone. After a day, maybe you rewrite whatever you thought or read the previous day and write it down. That's also retrieval. So try to find a lot of retrieval instead of rereading from scratch. So that would be one advice I would also add on. So yeah, how not to study everything? That's not even a question. Guys, come on, you cannot ask such questions. So you cannot study everything at once. Okay, so you have to space it out. Fine. Correct. So one last question. If you had to design a meme to represent your entire prep journey, what would it say?
I think it would be that that dog with the coffee cup on the table and there's fire everywhere and the dog says this is fine. I think
Right.
that would be it. Yeah, pretty much that. This is fine. But if I'm thinking more optimistically, then that where two people are digging through the ground, and one is turning back because he's disappointed, but there's diamonds
Ah,
there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the one keeps on digging. I think that should ideally be the solo prep for everyone. Even
Sure.
if, I mean, you just have to keep going. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
remember what you're striving for. You have to not lose track of the destination. You should not get lost in the journey. You should always be aware of and keep in mind the destination at the end of it all, so that uh, so this is what just keeps you going. That's, I think, pretty much it.
I think that everyone can relate with this, especially the everything burning around and you're feeling like everything is fine, and especially
Yeah.
with the other thing. So yeah, so thank you for sharing all this gyan with us. So I think everyone would have definitely like benefited from this. So and before you log out, guys, just one more thing. So since we talked about retrieval based strategies, I just want to add this thing. So my retrieval based strategy was teaching. So what I did was I just talked to my peers, MPhil classmates, to see how many of them were actually doing teaching roles before joining in. About seven of them said I was teaching before I joined, and teaching did help me get into NIMHANS. And also other people that I found, like, PhD scholars, so they also held some sort of a teaching job, or just maybe they have cleared UGC net and they are teaching. So that really helped them. So what we're trying to do now is build a community and extend it to CUET PG aspirants because they are way more in numbers, and I would say they are being predated on, especially with the coaching fees, like around 20,000, 30,000, and all that. So what I want to do is we want to start a community where you guys can start teaching. Of course, we're going to pay you. It's not going to be for free. We can pay you also. So you teach, and we'll handhold you as to the resources, any teaching methods, and things like that. So you emphasize on your retrieval, and also it helps the CUTPG aspirants. Like, we have two problems, let's solve it together, right? So if you are okay with this, you can drop me a DM or put a comment in like whatever platform this is going to be on. So if you want to DM me, so I'll also attach my WhatsApp number on the platform that this will be uploaded on. All right. So this is what I want to build, and if you're on board with this, please do help us out. All right. So yeah, thank you, Naina, for being such a great, interviewee. And yeah, so there was one compliment also on the chat that your skin looks really good. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that was
Thank you
someone.
to yeah, Darpana said it. Thank you so much, Darpana. I think it's just a good lighting here. Anyway, thank you, Roderick, for considering me worthy of interviewing me. I'm honored, and I do hope that my journey has given at least some clarity to a lot of you guys. And if you have any questions, maybe we can connect and then go through this journey together, because we still have one major exam to go, and we have a month for it. We can all do it together, even though there's 5 seats, but we will strive for it together. And even if even if we don't get in, it's okay, and we'll just do it the next time, next year maybe, or for some other institute, uh, because at the end of the day, we are going to become clinical psychologists, and good ones, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, true. Second that. All right, guys. So thank you for being there. So see you. You can, of course, view this recording on another platform that we'll upload it to. All right. So that's it, guys. So we'll see you maybe with another special where if we have one of you clear, we'll definitely have you on board on interview also. Okay. Bye, guys. See you.